In August of 2022, when actress Anne Heche died, it was one of the most surreal and filmed Hollywood deaths of all time. It all started in the early morning when she was seen smashing her car into a garage. Pictures were taken and dropped by TMZ that showed her what appears to be a small little bottle of vodka in the cup holder. After that, she was driving erratically on LA Freeway, moving in and out of cars, and then came her ultimate demise, her death. She was driving down a residential street going over 90 miles an hour, where she smashed into a house. Her car engulfed in flames. But what started all these conspiracy theories? It what appeared to be her breaking out of a body bag while she was being taken to an ambulance by firemen. But it wasn't a body bag. It was actually a thermal blanket that firemen use to treat burn victims. We'll go into the reasons why she might have flailed her arms and popped up like that. But what we're going to do is go to the real evidence, what is documented. And we will go over all the conspiracy theories. We're not taking those lightly either. We want the truth. We're going to follow where the evidence leads. And we've researched every facet of this, from the conspiracy theories to the hard evidence released by police, firemen, coroner, hospital records. We'll break it all down. Welcome to the Wiley Wire.
Even seeing them make entry into the car. And I am, believe me, I am listening to what these guys are talking about. Oh, maybe they're bringing them out the other side. We just can't see it because, yes, they got them out the passenger side, thank God. And this is the first time we're going to see this victim. It doesn't look that good, but yeah, it does look terrible. We'll just see if maybe they're just moving them out of there, or if they put them in an ambulance. That's some sort of sign, but yes. So basically the activity that we were looking for, that anxious or that quick moving, that was going on the other side of the vehicle. Oh my gosh, he's completely alive.
What the hell?
August 5th, 2022, Mar Vista, Los Angeles. Anne Heche's brand new 2022 Mini Cooper slams into a home and engulfs in flames. Why did the conspiracy theories start? When she's brought out by paramedics and firemen, she appears to be in a body bag, unzips it and flails her arms, defying death. But ultimately, it was a thermal blanket, which is protocol for burn victims. She did unzip it, or she did break out of it. She did flail her arms. But multiple sources said she wasn't dead. She was still clinging to life. Firefighters put her in the ambulance, where she was still alive, brought to the hospital. 6 days later, she died. At 10:56 a.m., firemen arrived at the scene. They took Anne Heche out of her vehicle. It took them 45 minutes due to the inferno and the flames and the smoke. One public official did speak briefly with the Daily Mail and ABC7. LAFD figure Captain Eric Scott, quote unquote, said, "She was talking to us at the time that we were able to pull her out. So that's a good sign," quote unquote. Other bystanders are there, including Lynn Bernstein. She said that she spoke directly with Anne Heche, asking if she was all right. She responded verbally, acknowledging no, indicating she wasn't okay. In another version, she reportedly told him she wasn't doing really well. He even asked her to raise her hand, so she did briefly. So these are from eyewitnesses, the captain of the fire department, and a bystander that lived nearby. It shows that she was alive. I don't see any reports that she was claimed to be dead officially by any coroner, paramedic, or fireman. So the debate that she was claimed dead before she was dead to help, the theory that she broke out of the body bag, that wasn't a body bag, it was a thermal blanket, is what's causing these conspiracy theories. Now, typically, a body bag isn't what was used here, but it was a standard anti-contamination thermal wrap. It's used for severe burn victims. It's protocol to shield her from debris, fluids, and heat while stabilizing en route to West Hills Hospital. She was extracted alive after 45 minutes in 600 plus degree temperatures. Her movements chalked up disorientation, pain, and of course, adrenaline, common in trauma, fight or flight. 6 days later, brain death set in from being in the flames that long. She died due to smoke inhalation. Yet the theories persist. They bubble in TikTok, rabbit holes, X threads, YouTube deep dives, often laced her with girl in the room 13 role or Hollywood shadows. They don't just question how she broke free, but why. Was it proof of foul play, a botched hit, or something systematic? I don't see that. It looks to me like she tried as hard as she could to live, and she died due to smoke inhalation and burns. In our next segment, we're going to go over a second conspiracy. Did the CIA kill Anne Heche? Did they get control of her car and force her to drive 90 miles an hour? Or force her to drive into a garage briefly earlier in the morning? Or force her to drive erratic on the LA freeway? We'll cover that in our next segment.
No, out of the car. Out of the car.
Something taking, sir? Come on, please.
In our next segment, we're quickly going to cover one aspect of this. Is her family released a statement saying that they kept her alive because she was an organ donor, and that's why they kept her alive longer. She was already officially brain dead. So on August 11th, when they actually pulled the plug on her, that's when she died. But let's rewind. The vanishing hours, 3 days before, August 2nd through August 4th, 2022. Anne's in LA, scripting her next chapter. Friends recall her vibrant purchasing of that fateful blue Mini Cooper. Errands under the sun, a buzz of upcoming roles like Girl in Room 13. But the toxicology report clears her. Nothing was in her system. No illicit highs at impact. Only hospital traces later with pain medication. On the 5th of August, dash cams caught her weaving through traffic 90 minutes on the freeway. A silver sedan gets sideswiped earlier before the home smashing plunge at 90 miles an hour. What's the real reason for this? Was it personal demons, echoes of her memoir's abuse scars, a life in recovery's grip, culminating in accidental fury? It seems like an odd, sequence of events. But what are the gaps here? Nothing's really clear why she was weaving. Was she fleeing shadows or chasing ghosts on the freeway? There's a ton of conspiracy theories out there that had to do with the CIA controlling her car, knowing where her GPS was. None of that's been proven. There's no shred of evidence of that. We'll break that down in the future of this episode. But Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, and Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, the coroner, focused primarily on her erratic driving, her high speed, estimated at 90 miles an hour at impact, hitting a home, and the toxicology. So they ruled the crash as an accident. There was no evidence of vehicle tampering or defects. The investigations was concluded as misdemeanor hit and run and felony DUI probes were closed on August 13th, 2022, following her death, without any findings of mechanical faults. So the key details from official sources: the crash reconstruction. Dashcam and witness footage showed Heche weaving through traffic for about 90 minutes prior, clipping a garage before slamming into a home at 1700 South Walgrove Avenue. Firefighters noted that vehicle struck and came to rest well within the structure, erupting into flames. No reports of pre-impact brake application or failure. Let's go over vehicle examination. While the Mini Cooper was a 2022, purchased just days earlier, it was impounded and examined by the LAPD. Statements emphasized driver behavior over hardware. No black box data or forensic analysis cited brake or throttle malfunctions. The focus was on speed and trajectory. Now let's get into the coroner's role. On December 6, 2022, the autopsy report detailed her injuries, smoke inhalation and thermal burns, and of course a sternum fracture from the impact of the crash, but deferred vehicle causation to LAPD, and they had no mechanical notes. Speculation about the brakes or the throttle lock surfaced online due to a drive-by wire system that is used in the car. Social media shortly after the crash often tied conspiracy theories to the CIA for remote hacking. For instance, eyewitness accounts of her blowing through intersections fueled unverified claims. With authorities, they did not substantiate them. Mini Cooper has no widespread recall for 2022 models related to brakes or acceleration during that period. The evidence weighs more in the authorities' favor than it does the conspiracy theorists' favor at this point, because there's no concrete evidence of the conspiracy theory claims. In our next segment, we're going to go over the Hollywood hunt and the theory that House Representative Jackie Walorski, who also died in a fatal car crash with a few other staff members, was tied to Anne Heche because she was researching child trafficking, and the theory is that Anne Heche and her had dialogue and were working together. We're back with segment 3, and we're going to start with A Girl in Room 13, the movie that Anne Heche was working on. It was a Lifetime movie about child trafficking, and it kind of greenlit, especially after the Jeffrey Epstein fallout. In the movie, she embodies a fighting mother, infiltrating rings of exploitation, and it does fuel fire for conspiracy theorists or people just trying to get to the real bottom of what really happened. Was this art, or was this, Anne's real crusade? Was it just coincidence, or was it her passion to get behind this and really expose real child trafficking? And that's kind of like where this theory comes together. So on August 3rd, Jackie Walorski's crash, she was driving in Indiana. She was a Republican House member, and she was working on, bills against child trafficking. And the theory is that Anne Heche and her were working together. So you have to say, was this a coincidence where two people died within a week, within days, because they were working on child trafficking? Now let's get a little bit into Jackie Walorski's crash. She was not driving. Her staffer was driving, and there was two staffers in the back, and everyone in the car died, including the driver they hit. Initially, it was reported that their car was driving straight, and another car weaved into them, but actually was the other way around. Representative Jackie Walorski's car weaved into the oncoming traffic lane and killed the driver in the oncoming car and everybody in her car as well. We're going to dive more into the crashes, though, how they're similar. And if there is any parallel to this, did both cars get taken under control by other people, CIA, government, child trafficking network that's working with the CIA, facets of the CIA? That's what this conspiracy theory kind of leans towards. A lot of people suggest that this is just a phantom partnership. Both representatives from each party say there's no evidence of them two ever talking or getting together. That's just all the information I've seen. I'm not closed on the idea, but I haven't got any information that these two have been working together. But the official lens is Walorski, a Republican from Indiana, was a longtime advocate against human trafficking, co-sponsoring bills like the Human Trafficking Prevention, Intervention, and Recovery Act of 2014, and pushing for measures in 2022 to strengthen victim support and border-related enforcement. Her work was legislative and public, often tied to congressional committees. No mentions of Hollywood collaborations in her records, statements, or obituaries. Heche, meanwhile, starred in the 2022 Lifetime movie Girl in Room 13, which dramatized child sex trafficking scenarios, inspired real-world issues. But her officials and her family and her representatives say there was no tie to Republican Representative Walorski at all. A lot of these theories come from Reddit. This X22 reporter named Dave, QAnon, are saying this is all tied together, but there's no proof behind it. There's no proof that Walorski's policy pushes Heche's film at all, that they were united against the Hollywood elite network front against child trafficking. So it sparks a lot of doubt in me. I mean, you'd think that representatives and family members would want to find the real reason that these two died, and somebody would come out with some information that they were working together. Let's go over the deaths of the two. Walorski's death occurred on August 3rd, 2022. She was a congresswoman, 58 years old. She died in a head-on collision in Indiana when her SUV swerved into oncoming traffic's lane. It was driven by a staffer and appeared to cross the center line, trying to go around a slower vehicle in the right-hand lane. Investigators ruled it as accidental, citing driver error, no foul play, mechanical issues, and the toxicology report showed no signs of any drugs or alcohol. There were no trafficking probes active that day. She was, going to a routine event. Now let's look at Heche's timeline. We kind of covered it. August 5th was when her crash occurred. The coroner said there was no signs of impairing substances in her blood, basically aligning with personal struggles rather than external interference. Let's talk about the coincidence angle. One narrative sees the proximity. Walorski's on the 3rd, Heche's crash 2 days later. Kind of too neat, especially with both involving vehicles. Proponents whisper of hits to protect secrets, trying it to broader QAnon themes. Yet stats counter, car crashes are common, over 40,000 U.S. fatalities in 2022, with no shared enemies or projects. The link feels forced. Toxicology comparison, like I said earlier, Walorski's crash versus Heche's crash. No drugs involved, no alcohol involved. Completely clean toxicology reports. So it's both driver error. It's really hard to completely, get rid of the conspiracy theory, because I see why there is one, but I have no evidence of them ever talking, working together, or any of that. So for us to go off and say that both cars were controlled, the CIA just picked them two out, and that's the reason this happened, then I think it'd be really a stretch, in my opinion. There's nothing that shows any indication of outside people interfering with the cars. It's hard to even get an ounce of evidence of that, other than the consistency of the timeline of how they died, and they're both tied to child trafficking, but no evidence that they worked together. So that's my take on that theory. Yeah, if more evidence comes out and some documents are released that they two were talking together, and all of that, that'd be one thing. And who knows, maybe our documents are out there like that, but I can't go off of something that's not in front of me, I haven't seen, and there's no proof of. In our final segment 4, we're going to cover some of the other conspiracy theories, first with Paul Walker and Anthony Bourdain, that they were working on separate documentaries about child trafficking. That's been debunked as a conspiracy theory, often lumped into similar claims from celebrities like Chris Cornell or Chester Bennington or Avicii. But from what I've looked up, I haven't seen any provable evidence that any of these guys are working on anything to do with child trafficking. There's zero evidence out there. If there is such evidence, please send it. I know there's a lot of things on TikTok and X going around that are suggesting this, but a lot of it's reposting. And a lot of times people, good-willed and good-natured people see something and they think it's real and repost it, but you really got to look and see, if it really is real and there's real evidence that supports this. We're back with segment 4, the phantom wheel, the conspiracy theory that the CIA or somebody was controlling Anne Heche's car, or even controlling the Republican representative's car, and completely crashing them both and killing Anne Heche, killing Representative Walorski. I mean, if you really look at this, the autopsy seals the accident as smoke inhalation, thermal burns, a complete sternum snap from impact, no tampering, no tox-fueled haze, LAPD echoes, high speed, no brakes, a driver's error in a connected age, but mechanics are clean. So your theory is that someone go into her car and remotely control it. It's a big myth. It had to be, forged documents that override the investigation. There's also conspiracy theories of Ellen DeGeneres being tied to this because they used to date a long time ago, but none of it is proven at all. So I'm going to get into these theories. First, let's cover the CIA. Did it hack Anne Heche's car and try to kill her? People are sharing an article by the People's Voice formerly News Punch, which claims that documents show that a CIA hacked Anne Heche's car to kill her. The truth is, the CIA did not hack Anne Heche's car to kill her. This is an example of falsified news. There are no documents that show any evidence that the CIA hacked Anne Heche's car. It's such a shocking revelation. It would have triggered worldwide coverage, criminal investigations, yet no such CIA document exists. A reputable media company has reported anything about it, anything of the sort. There's been no criminal investigations looking at Anne Heche's death or the CIA involvement of her death. Unsurprisingly, the People's Voice article presented no proof that Anne Heche's car was hacked by anyone, much less the CIA. In fact, the article only referred to a car hack in its title, but covered it nowhere else. That's because it was probably completely made up. Until I see evidence, that's all you can go on. Okay, let's individually break down each theory. The Paul Walker theory, he did have a reach out worldwide charity. It was focused on disaster relief. The theory is that he started funding stuff to fight trafficking, and that was what led to his Porsche crash and his silencing. But there's no records, interviews, or any associates linked to him that tie him to any trafficking film. This gained traction in 2017, 2018 from a QAnon post tying it to a project called The Silent Children. Nobody from his team supports any of it. And if there is any information that comes out, obviously I will not disregard it. I will look at it and make sure if it's true or not. But let's go to Anthony Bourdain. That claim, Bourdain, known for Parts Unknown, obviously, was a great show. I watched it a lot. He died of suicide, but, they're saying he was probing elite pedophile rings. But in reality, all the information that I see is that he was just vocal on social issues. He was really invested in the Me Too, abuse in kitchens, but there's no evidence of a trafficking project that he was involved in. He was only focused on, travel and food and investigations. There's no involvement in any film called The Silent Children. Again, this was linked to, something that was posted on Reddit in 2018, PolitiFact in 2022, called it a hoax. But a lot of it is just, again, posts on the internet, posts on social media. Let's go to Chris Cornell. The rumor is he was producing a documentary on child sex trafficking. All reports are, even from his family, that wasn't true. There's no documentation that it was true. Same goes for Chester Bennington and Avicii. Again, if there's evidence out there of any of these three being involved with child trafficking movies to fight against it, please send the information, because I've searched everywhere for it and I can't find any of it. The one thing about Chris Cornell, he was founded the Chris and Vicky Cornell Foundation in 2012 to combat abuse and support at-risk youth. But this was through established nonprofits, not undercover, exposés. His death was ruled a suicide by hanging at age 52 in a Detroit hotel. It stemmed from documented struggles of depression, addiction, corroborated with an autopsy and toxicology reports that were also negative, though, for impairing substances, and witness accounts. So the theory in a nutshell, proponents claim, Cornell was co-producing the Silent Children movie and is supposed to be an investigative film on elite pedophile rings, like the Epstein-adjacent vibes, alongside Bennington, his godson, and others. There's suspicious deaths within a short window: Cornell in 2017, Bennington in 2017, Avicii in 2018, Bourdain in 2018, allegedly prove a cover-up with the project canceled, post-mortem. It often ties into the QAnon trust the plan lore, implying Hollywood deep state hits. Why it's debunked, evidence, no documents, emails, scripts, or statements from Cornell's estate link him to any such film. If there were, I would want to find it. Now, I'm not saying that conspiracy theory is 100% not true, but there is no proof of it. So if there's proof of it, you have to provide some facts. And at least to the Cornell family, I haven't heard anything that they say ties them to any of this. Obviously, I'm sure they all disagree with, trafficking children, but if they weren't involved in this film, I don't see that the CIA or the deep state Hollywood elites would try to kill all of them. It's just my take on it. So let's cover this Silent Children film, kind of give you a little background on it. It was a short film being produced between 2011 and 2013 by director Dean Carr. It was a fictional thriller about two rock stars uncovering a child auction in a venue basement. It starred musician Paul Myhill, not Cornell or anyone famous, and production halted due to funding issues in 2011, years before the deaths, and had zero, trafficking angle that would be tied to any of these guys. So that's kind of the background on the documentary, The Silent Children. Again, a lot of this is just from QAnon posts, X posts, TikTok posts, people that are just kind of pushing, evidence that, again, like I said before, they're not probably bad people. They just think it's real and they repost it. People get clicks, they get likes. And let's kind of go with what Vicky Cornell said, his widow. She publicly dismissed it as just hurtful misinformation, quote unquote. And she exploits his legacy as mental health advocacy. No crew, no co-producers or footage even exists. All of these are just myths with no factual evidence to back them. Chris Cornell, he died May 18, 2017. Chester Bennington died July 20th, 2017. They were alleged to have secretly been, again, producing an anti-child trafficking documentary, The Silent Children. There's no evidence of that. And Chester Bennington was related to Chris Cornell because Chris Cornell was his godfather. And he killed himself 2 months after Chris Cornell killed himself. And there were drugs in Chester Bennington's system, Ambien and some ecstasy, but they said that didn't lead to his suicide. It was depression. But you got to always look at all the angles of this, which I did, but no evidence, real evidence lies out there that can really make a good argument that this is real, other than like posts online and reposts and little short videos made where people say things without any evidence. But the coroner's office, obviously, in Cornell's death, no drugs were involved, no struggle. So that rules that out. Again, the Bennington, no struggle. He did have some drugs in his system, but that wasn't the reason for his death. It was definitely the depression. And again, Bourdain was depression. Now, again, I'm going off the facts that I have. I don't have anything else other than the coroner's report, family members' views on it, that was put in the public. That's all you can really go off of, unless you have some type of evidence that truly ties them in, like a document that has Cornell and Bennington, working together on a film, and there's documentation that they funded money to it. Or they were going to come out with some information about child trafficking in Hollywood, or, Avicii is about to do that for real. Haven't seen any of it. It doesn't exist. And if it did, it would open this back up again. But I haven't seen any proof of that. Bourdain, another guy, and Paul Walker. It's so I just feel like we're really, really stretching, and without any proof, all you're going to do is wind up back where you started with the coroner's report, what ended up happening, and keep researching it, because maybe we'll find something that can tie some of these theories together. But as of right now, I haven't found any. I'll be back next with the wrap. That's a wrap. I can't believe I made it through this episode of this cold, but I did it. But some of the questions that have been asked, did the CIA kill Anne Heche? From evidence that I see, I can only go with no at this point. And just think about it. Wouldn't the CIA been easily able to cover this up and kill her? And if they were working with the coroner, they would have said that her toxicology report showed a ton of alcohol in her body, because there's pictures out there of her having a bottle of vodka in her cup holder. There's rumors that she was doing a podcast and she needed it for the podcast, but whatever. Her toxicology report said no alcohol. And if they really wanted to take her out, they would have had a rogue handler, somebody working not for the CIA, but with the CIA. And everyone had to be in on it then. The firemen, the police, the hospital, the coroner, the car mechanic that did the report on the black box. It just seems too far of a stretch to have all these people in on it, all working together to cover up her death. I just don't buy it. And then the connection between Heche and Walorski, if there's some paper trail of them talking, working together, on a child trafficking issue, I would definitely be more inclined to believe that. They died 3 days apart in car crashes, but there's no evidence that they ever communicated. And I didn't really cover the Ellen DeGeneres, theory. I'm not a big Ellen DeGeneres fan by any means whatsoever, but they broke up in 2000, and that was a long time ago, and they've made appearances together at events, not together, but they've attended the same events together. The only piece of evidence I see online, they call it evidence, is that she moved to the UK. But you can't really call that evidence, because celebrities move. They buy houses, places. There's no evidence of an investigation at Ellen DeGeneres that would make her move to the UK. If there was, if the police got involved in some type of hit job that she put on, Anne Heche, I guess there'd be some type of paper trail, and you can put two and two together, but there is no paper trail of her ever having any police report on her doing anything that had anything to do with the crash, other than her moving to the UK, which is, again, another conspiracy stretch. You only can go with the facts when you're investigating something, and I kind of do it like I'm a detective working, for the FBI or an investigative firm. Theories are theories, but they've got to have some evidence behind them. So when we do deep dives, we don't just go with things that are going to get us clicks. And, I could easily drag this on and, make it about Ellen DeGeneres and Chris Cornell and Avicii and all that. I could do that and it just swindle you on episode after episode, but there's no evidence that ties any of this together. I won't rule out that there isn't evidence out there, but I was unable to find any. But we investigate all angles of things, and this was something that we couldn't find anything to tie these conspiracy theories together. But thanks for watching The Wiley Wire. You can find us on X, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Substack, and follow us at The Wiley Wire. Like us, follow us. Thanks for staying wired, and we'll see you next time.
The Wily Wire dives into sports, music, politics, health, and trending topics for entertainment, info, and education. Listener discretion advised. May include mature themes, explicit language, controversial views, or sensitive content. Not suitable for under 18 or all audiences. Parents, please supervise. All opinions from hosts, guests, and contributors are personal and don't reflect our official views. Information isn't guaranteed to be accurate. Do your own research and consult qualified professionals.